it's just amazing. So like I said, if I'm Justin Trudeau, I'm on Team Beijing, especially since we know from 10 years ago this year, Tamara, he professed in public his admiration for the basic dictatorship of China when it came to, getting things done. Getting things done, what do you mean by that? Oh, maybe like fixing an election or at least interfering to try and fix it? Give me a break.
The level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship.
We have a video to share with you where, as many of you may already know, amid allegations of Chinese interference into our democratic process, and namely lobbying and pandering in the Liberal Party of Canada, and also, I guess, the Conservative Party, as well as we've seen in recent days, a Conservative member on the provincial level in the Progressive Conservative Caucus has resigned, but not on the Liberal federal level. The allegation against Liberal cabinet member Han Dong, he remains as a seated in caucus, and so Trudeau is appointing a special rapporteur, of course, right? Because we need an independent analysis, just as much as the Public Order Emergency Commission, the Trucker Commission inquiry was, independent. So Trudeau has taken it upon himself to appoint his own rapporteur of his choosing to essentially investigate himself. And here he is really stressing the urgency to do so. Have a look.
Prime Minister, can you give us an update on when a decision will be made regarding the rapporteur?
We know how important it is for Canadians to have confidence in our system and to have the right independent expert reassuring of that, because it's not about what one political party says or another. It's about making sure that experts are stepping up to reinforce the integrity of our democratic processes. We are working to appoint that special rapporteur, that special independent expert in the coming days or week. We're working extremely quickly on that.
Gosh, are you like me, David, where the word expert now just has no merit any longer?
Well, I just want to know what a special rapporteur is, not just a garden variety rapporteur, but a special one. And is there such a thing as an extra special rapporteur? It sounds like an all-star member of Toronto's pro basketball franchise, for that matter. But, Tamara, isn't it amazing? I'm sure Justin Trudeau was hoping when these Chinese interference allegations were breaking, that this would just go through the 24-hour or the 48-hour news cycle. Well, no, we're going into week 3, thankfully, of this being a major issue, as it should be. And isn't it incredible that when Trudeau couldn't get the media to go away on this issue, because remember, his stand-pat response going back 2.5 weeks ago, Tamara, was, oh, well, you're talking about Han Dong, an Asian Canadian, therefore to, say anything negative about him, you are a racist. Yeah, that's right, blackface. We're the racists out there. I mean, I'm getting sick and tired, Tamara, of this government playing the racist card, the hate card, the anti-Asian Canadian card, especially coming from a guy that's donned blackface makeup so many times, not even he knows about it. But clearly it didn't work. In fact, it backfired. He got mocked, even by those, thankfully, in the mainstream media. By the way, we're running a clip of Trudeau doing his shtick. What's even worse, Tamara? I don't mean to go off on a tangerine here, but every time he dons blackface, you notice he sticks his tongue out? Is this how our prime minister perceives black people? They're like dogs. They're panting. Their tongue is sticking out. I mean, I think that's probably just as offensive as putting the blackface on. So I don't even know what the hell is in his mind in the first place. But yeah, this special rapporteur, he's going to look into things. I wonder who that special rapporteur will be. I wonder if it will be a partisan person.
Mhm.
And like the Emergencies Act inquiry, let's face it, it was disappointing. Was it surprising? Not a chance. We all followed it. We could see that conclusion coming a mile away. So I don't think this is enough. What I'd like to see is, hello, Royal Canadian Mounted Henchmen. How about, in addition to your investigation of CSIS to see who the whistleblower is, in fact, I wouldn't mind if they dropped that case like a hot potato. Why don't you look at criminal charges, a criminal investigation about this Chinese interference? And one last point on this, I want to get your response, Tamara. Yesterday, Maurizio and I went up to Han Dong's constituency office in Don Valley North, that's the riding, because when we were there last Monday, they locked the door and everybody ran away because there was a protest and there was some media, independent media there. So we went back there and we didn't get much, just a junior staffer who, played the Sergeant Schultz, I know nothing, I saw nothing card. But it was kind of incredible. Less than 4 football fields away, also the provincial riding of Don Valley North, that's Vincent Ke, the provincial MPP that was, he's now out of caucus as of Friday night. He's been accused of being aided by Chinese interference and accepting money. Now, his lawyer has denied all these allegations and says they are, downright defamatory. So we should point out these are just allegations. Nothing has been proven in court. But I think at least provincially, the Ford PCs are doing the right thing, Tamara.
Mhm.
He's out of caucus. He's sitting as an independent. If he can clear his name, he'll come back in. Why don't we get the same treatment with Han Dong?
Absolutely. It's a great point. And stay tuned for David's full report, because I believe you mentioned that specifically. And again, all of this and the way Trudeau's reacting and acting it further points to the hypocrisy of the bureaucracy, which I constantly say, I have that coin. That's TM, Tamara Ugolini, by the way. But I think that the riding of Don Valley North has been specifically targeted by Beijing and the Chinese Communist Party, and this was part of a news article that came out yesterday. It's from the Business Intelligence for BC website, and the article is called "Cash Flew from West Coast Donors to Trudeau's Montreal Riding." So his local re-election fund, his Montreal Riding Association, in 2015 and 2016. And there is a lot here in this article. I don't know if we can pull it up on screen. It was one of the links that we were originally going to talk about, and it just didn't quite make it into the headline for the daily live stream today. But basically, it's saying that the person in Han Dong's seat was previously Liberal Jen Tang. And I don't know, this is about halfway down the article. It says, in June 2016, there was a donation gave to Liberal Jen Tang. And he is who superseded Han Dong in that riding. And he, like I mentioned, there's a lot here in this article, but basically he has direct ties and direct funding given to him by the executive chair of the Canadian Alliance of Chinese Associations, which is an arm of the Chinese Communist Party's United Front program, which aims to influence foreign politicians to adopt positions favorable to the Chinese government. And then so when this particular person, and I don't have all the background on them, but Jen Tang was replaced by Han Dong. And that's when CSIS was sounding the alarms to the Trudeau government, saying, hey, there's some clear monetary cash flow coming pretty much directly from the Chinese Communist Party's United Front program itself to these members of your party. And we think that you should, pay attention to this and not allow them to run. And so for whatever reason, the Don Valley North riding seems to be a target here specifically from Beijing with this interference. And it also makes me question too, if we have a clear paper trail here, if we know that this is happening and we can trace this back to where the cash switched hands, and I'm sure there's a ton of it that obviously could never be tracked or traced, but why aren't we freezing their bank accounts? This is foreign interference. Yeah. Didn't we freeze the bank accounts of Canadians for sending $50, $100 donations to a grassroots protest against this same government's COVID-related response, which is very similar to the way that China responded to the COVID-19 pandemic? So, why don't we freeze their bank accounts while we are able to investigate and figure this out? I don't hear any talks about any of that happening. But when it's grassroots Canadians with $50, $100 donating to a protest for a cause that they support to uphold, bodily autonomy and freedom of movement, our constitutional rights and freedoms, essentially, to put it broadly, well, they get their bank accounts frozen for months on end and completely decimated. And meanwhile, we have actual documented foreign interference by the tens of thousands, and no one's bank account is being frozen to be investigated.
Well, Tamara Ugolini, come on, let's be fair. I mean, there's a lot of baggage, obviously, in Han Dong's closet, but he hasn't, set up bouncy castles in Don Valley North. He hasn't set up a hot tub, or he hasn't done a pork roast. That's what gets blackface to freeze your bank accounts, not that. But the other thing, in addition to everything you mentioned about the money and the interference, is that it's uncanny, the coincidence, I think, of how Han Dong certainly looks like a little Beijing puppet, because on two separate occasions, it was a Liberal-sponsored motion, Tamara, to condemn the government of China for its treatment of the Uyghur Muslims, basically a genocide for any other name. He, at the very last minute, left the floor. He did not vote one way or the other. I think that's kind of uncanny, given that it was his own party introducing this, but he's obviously more loyal, I think, to the Mandarins abroad than he is to the Prime Minister. But before we get more into that, why don't we play another video of Trudeau basically saying there is no question that there was attempted interference from Beijing. Oh my goodness, how his tune has changed in the space of just less than 3 weeks. So why don't we roll that video and try to make sense of it all?
That's why, following the 2015 election, we worked to counter election interference by building a number of different processes and bodies around national oversight that would be able to counter and figure out ways to continue to protect our democracy. So there is no question that, yes, there was attempted interference from Beijing into our electoral processes, but it's also because of those processes and verification methods we put into place, confidence that they were not successful in affecting the outcome of those elections. And that's something Canadians need to be reassured about. This is a serious issue that we have always taken seriously, and therefore we're making sure that Canadians will continue to have confidence by appointing an independent expert to look at the entire landscape around national security and election interference from Beijing, but other places as well, and put in place the oversight, the processes, the steps necessary to maintain Canadians' confidence in our democracy and in everything that our national security officials and experts are doing every day to keep Canadians safe. We will continue to take this with the seriousness with which it requires. It's not a partisan issue. It's an issue on which we all need to work together and listen to independent experts, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, independent experts.
Yeah, right. And by that, blackface means he's going to get to the bottom of this, and that is who the whistleblower at CSIS is, as opposed to the Chinese interference. And why would the Prime Minister, Tamara, be concerned? I mean, you look at the three-prong objective, allegedly, of the government of China, and it was this. They backed at least 11 Liberal MPs to get elected, according to the whistleblower, and apparently they all did. 9 Conservative MPs who had less than favorable views of the Beijing regime, they did not get elected. Again, that's another plus for Blackface and company. And then, of course, they wanted the Liberals to retain a minority government. And that's the really fascinating thing, I find, Tamara, and I've said this on previous shows. Yeah, Blackface is our boy, all right, but we want him on a short leash. We don't want to give him an all-out majority or supermajority, just in case maybe, Blackface walks off the reservation. We'll do some other tinkering to turn that tide around. It's just amazing. So like I said, if I'm Justin Trudeau, I'm on Team Beijing, especially since we know from 10 years ago this year, Tamara, he professed in public his admiration for the basic dictatorship of China when it came to, getting things done. Getting things done, what do you mean by that? Oh, maybe like fixing an election or at least interfering to try and fix it? Give me a break.